Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to go over all the books I read for January. I read about 13 books, so I'm going to go over them. Disclaimer, this is no hate to the authors. There are some books I'm not going to like. There are some books I'm going to love, and all of that. Sorry, let me pull up my Goodreads. Okay, the first book I read, this is a series, it was called St. Few Prison by L. Thorpe. This series was so good and I was not expecting it at all. I've never read any Elle Thorpe before and she's like my new favorite author because of how good this is. This girl named May has this sister and she's like always been in love with her sister's ex-boyfriend. One night she's out at a bar with her sister and her best friend, and her sister and her best friend leave and she notices her sister's ex-boyfriend is at the bar with her, and she goes up and talks to him. He talks to her. And they end up going and hooking up, you know, at her apartment. But the next morning, she realizes her sister came back and she's dead in her bed. So what happens is the cops obviously arrest the guy she hooked up with, who is her sister's ex-boyfriend, and falsely accuse him of murdering her sister. So what May does, the main character, decides to enroll as a prison teacher to get close to Heath, who is the guy who is accused, and try to get close to him and try to like help his case. There she also meets a guard, Roe, and they're very enemies to lovers in the first half of the book. And she kind of, it's like back and forth, which I loved. This is also a why choose book. I don't know if I said that before. It's a why choose book. So we got Heath, Roe, and she also ends up reconnecting with her, like, someone she knew from high school who didn't really go to her high school, but like knew of, named Liam, who's like a hotshot lawyer. So all three of these people are now falling in love with May, and May is using them, I don't want to say using, but May is using them to help build a case against Heath to get him out of prison because the person who killed May's sister is not Heath. So it's very much a mystery book of trying to figure out who killed who. And then romance. It's a trilogy book, so the romance goes from 3 books and all that. There's also MM content in there with some of the guys in it. So if you're into that, that'd be great. I rated the first book, Locked Up Liars, 4 stars. Sometimes I don't write reviews on my books. I don't know why. I just don't want to. Solitary Sinners, I wrote 4 stars. And Fatal Felons, I wrote 5 stars. In my review, I said, I love you, Vincent. I love you, Tori. Those aren't the main characters in the books, but you'll just love them. Then L. Thorpe also it's a continuous world, so there's different couples that happen. So the next book was St. View Psychos. A prisoner who's in the prison series is in this book as one of the love interests. What happens is this girl named Bliss, well, in the prologue, she's little. It's her brother in a trailer park. They share different dads. Bliss is always kind of left alone. Her mother is very, you know, not there. She invites bad men over to the house. So her brother has kind of been in charge of trying to keep her sister safe. And eventually, so it's her brother is trying to keep her safe as well as her brother's best friend. What was his name? Oh, her brother's best friend Nash is also trying to keep her safe. So they kind of work together and like, you know, get her out of there. I think she's like 8 years old in like the prologue or something. And then her brother Axel ends up sending her to her rich father. And then the story, you know, chapter 1. And then Bliss is now a rich girl, whatever, dating this abusive asshole, and finds out that her brother died. So she's kind of like brought back into that scenario, where she goes back to her brother's best friend Nash, who is an owner of like a bar and also helps with a motorcycle club. So there's a motorcycle club guy a part of it too. And the prisoner from the first Saint View series is also in it. I did have a complaint about this book because, spoilers ahead, the guy has DID, so the prisoner like you saw in the first book is kind of like barely in it because it's now his new personality, and I just felt like she kind of like let him go, and it was just, I don't know, but I don't want to give too much away. First book I read was 4 stars, second book I read was 3 stars, and the third book I read was 4 stars again. And then I read, this was my favorite series by her actually, was the next one was Saint View Rebels, which is kind of the enemies of the books before. Friend from the book before, Bliss's friend, she's attacked. She finds out that her mother is getting married to this new guy, and she's getting a stepbrother. Coincidentally, the day of their wedding, they both die when they're giving vows out. So it's definitely a mystery of like who killed who. And so it's the stepbrother, his best friend, and a motorcycle member who's always been like in love with Rebel is always in love with her. So the first book I gave 5 stars. Second I gave book 4 stars and 5 stars. This was definitely my favorite. I don't even want to talk about this book because I hated it so much. It was War and His Queen by Amo Jones. This is a next generation series of like Amo's Elite King series, and it's about the kids. I can't even explain to you how much I hated this book. Nothing made sense. The characters were written like a 13-year-old on Wattpad was writing them. The characters were so insufferable. I didn't like one character out of the kids. None of the parents were there. The romance was barely there. Like I didn't like any of it. I can't even explain to you what the plot was. There was no plot. It was everything pushed together to make something, and it just sucked. I'm sorry. So I gave it 1 star. That's really all I gotta say. The next book I read was Less Than He Needs by J.H. Knight. This book is set with this older brother who has to take care of his 7 siblings. His parents are out of the picture, drug addicts, all that. So he has to step up and take care of his siblings. There's this cop buddy that he's friends with, which he becomes more friends with. They fall in love. And it's really about their relationship with each other and how Tommy needs to let go and let somebody help with his family, because he's all alone, to be honest. So I gave this one 4 stars. It's MM. It's really good because of the character development and about the